FF14, as an MMO with a decade-plus long life cycle, has a very storied history, not just in the hundreds of hours long main story, nor in the slew of high-end battles that have tested its most committed players to their very limits, but within the community that plays it. The people. There have been countless silly, intriguing, and downright unbelievable tales woven by the players, with the content, the developers, and of course with themselves. Today is one of those stories. This is the story of how one of the game's gathering jobs would have widespread ramifications that would be felt all across FF14, not just once, but many times across the years. The first of which was so severe that it harboured the capability to take down the entire server if not handled with care and respect. Let's look at the game's long history with funny phishing bugs. If you want to see more slices of FF14 history and discussion, please do consider subscribing, as it means the world to me. This first incident occurred late in Heavensward, all the way back in the tail end of 2016 through to the start of 2017, when patch 3.5 was the current update. This patch brought with it the Alliance raid Dun Skaith, the trial including Zervan the Demon, which birthed the Skip Saw meme, and funnily enough, the initial removal of the original iteration of the Diadem, one of the most famous pieces of failed content. But with every 0.5 patch comes somewhat of a renaissance to phishing, as it's the standard release for a sequence of the rarest and hardest fish to catch for that expansion. Endgame fishers usually return to grab the new finds, and a number of new fishers are usually drawn in by the surrounding excitement. So, it's fair to say that this patch in particular is likely to see more increased traffic at the ponds, lakes, rivers, and sea than usual. Well, during this period, reports started coming in that disconnections were occurring, and in rarer cases, servers were entirely crashing. There were even a couple of posts on the official forums too, including this one by a player stating that whenever they attempted to mooch in certain fishing pools in Outer Lenossia, they would be disconnected from the game, and that this would happen consistently enough for them to have given up entirely for now. An official post would appear on the lodestone on the very same day, confirming that fishing in Outer Lenossia could cause the server to crash, though giving no further information. As a temporary measure, they made fishing unavailable in one of the fishing holes, and noted that there would be a fix to the issue sometime next week, mentioning that the same fish was available to be caught in other fishing holes and to use those in the meantime. Patch 3.51 would release a week later, and in the resolved bugs section would include context. Mooching using a high-quality bony tongue would cause an incompatibility with the game, the likely source of the original issues. Two fishing holes also had the same name, one in Upper Lenossia and the other in Outer Lenossia, both titled North Bronze Lake, and that was rectified, though it wasn't confirmed whether those two things were related or not. Another, more recent error affected fishing in Realm Reborn zones as well. In patch 7.1, which was released late in 2024, something strange occurred in Eastern Thanalan. Players, mostly those that were new and using the zone to level up their job as first-time fishers, were discovering that the game wouldn't let them fish there. It came to light that a collision detection issue was keeping people from fishing or walking on water in that region. Like, it just didn't work to fish there entirely. As the team was aware of the problem and the cause, the graphics data update would remedy the issue and restore access to those fishing spots in the next patch. The problem didn't last for long at all, but it had a large impact for those that were directly affected. In patch 6.3, one of the rare fish in the game was subject to a strange bug as well. So, since patch 6.3 released, it was impossible to obtain Fisher's Intuition for the fish Aquamaton, which is caught in Calusia. If you don't do too much fishing, a subset of the catchable sea and river creatures require you to obtain a special buff, called Fisher's Intuition, to make them catchable for a short period of time, forcing you to capitalize on a limited time window with more constraints than usual. Aquamaton is especially difficult, as to get its fisher's intuition, you must catch 6 fish in total. 5 shapeshifter octopus, which aren't too tough to obtain, but 1 shade shifter alongside, which is a time-limited big fish in and of itself. This means that an opportunity to even attempt to catch Aquamaton is few and far between. So, a bug affecting your capability to proc the buff at all is especially frustrating, as it's a huge time waster for the player and also doesn't have any direct feedback to failure. It's perfectly possible that they may believe they just did it wrong and try again. Strangely enough, this was the only fish and bug that was affected by the error. It was fixed quickly enough, but it's fair to say that this was another odd one. A really recent and slightly less interesting one occurred as recently as patch 7.3, which was first released in August of 2025. With that patch, it was completely impossible to fish time-worn Gargantua skin maps up. You might say, oh, who cares? And in many cases, I would agree entirely. But this was the same patch that the brand new treasure dungeon, Vault Oneron, was added, which used these Gargantua skin treasure maps in order to enter in the first place. Possible drops from the vault included the Yan mount and minion, as well as the Gimme Cat minion, which it's fair to say were some of the most eagerly anticipated market tradable drops of the entire expansion, with prices across all servers soaring into the tens of millions immediately, and sometimes into the hundreds of millions, and even to this day staying significantly high. Fishing having such a distinct disadvantage early in the patch compared to Botanist and Miner was painful, to say the least. At the tail end of Endwalker, there was one short-lived bug that made things easier for fishers though, not harder. After patch 6.5 came out, as a byproduct, Square Enix had accidentally made catching certain fish easier than before. Many fish in the game require mooches, that is, catching a prerequisite fish and then casting it out as your new bait in order to attempt to land a predator fish that wishes to feast on the small fry. And often, these are more complicated catches to deal with overall. But in this patch, a number of big fish added just before 6.4 that usually required mooching in their acquisition could instead just be caught using the versatile lure, a standard lure that most fishers possess and have access to. This increased the number of attempts prospective fishers got to actually grab the fish, and soared victory rates sky high once the method caught on, and obviously before it was patched. Square Enix didn't roll back any of the catches or issue any penalties, as the problem was on them in the first place, so a lot of players just won out and got a couple of easy big fish from this bug. It's fair to say that while some of these bugs were short-lived, silly, or just something that may have had significance to a small part of the game's user base, they all add up to the law of a job with a small but die-hard and dedicated fanbase. Fishers often go unappreciated in lieu of battle content, and whilst this is by no means the full list, I hope at least one or two here were interesting to you. Thank you so much for watching this video if you made it all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. I have a Patreon, you don't need to support it, but if you do, it'll allow me to keep uploading here more regularly. This video was available early to patrons, and there are updates and exclusive content that go up there regularly. As well as that, you'll be included in the credits of future videos. The people on screen now are the reason I was able to make this one, and I'm greatly appreciative. No pressure, though, and of course, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.